Shugo Chara is an exploration of children's identity and our ability to change. While many kids shows have explored being your true self, I like that Shugo Chara rejects the idea of one true self. It reframes identity as a dynamic process rather than a static goal. We never truly are, but are always becoming. So let's explore how Shugo Chara teaches us that being is becoming. All kids hold an egg in their soul, the egg of our hearts, our would-be self, yet unseen. This is the premise of Shugo Chara's world. Our main character, Amu, is a cool and spicy girl at Seiyu Academy. Her reputation precedes her, with many mistaking her awkward behavior for a cool, standoffish persona. Amu is a girl who feels deeply misunderstood. There's a gap between who she wants to be and what the world expects of her, and so she turns to a shooting star, wishing for her true self. The true self is represented by an egg that lies in our hearts. Within the egg lies a Shugo Chara, a guardian to protect our true selves until it's ready to emerge. Based on the series' primary cast, this tends to happen around the onset of puberty. Children are rather undefined and thus can sometimes see the Shugo Chara. In contrast, adults have often discarded their dreams and therefore can't. Throughout the series, Shugo Chara represent dreams in all forms, whether it's a pursuit of power or simply a career, and so the hatching of the egg marks self-discovery, one compared to the onset of puberty. The series is no stranger to innuendo, so just watch the first episode to see how blunt the comparison is. Adolescence is a time to figure out who you are, and the cast must do this before it's too late. Despite its simple premise, what happens next redefines the entire series. When Amu makes her wish, she wakes up to not one, not two, but 3 guardian eggs. Amu has 3 potential selves that she could become. So which one is the real her? This is a question the series wrestles with throughout its run. How can we ever find ourselves, our real selves, when there's so much that we could be? With that conceptual premise laid out, I think we're ready to cover the anime's first episode. The morning after her wish, Amu wakes up to 3 eggs, 3 would-be selves. This represents that Amu is a girl with many sides who hasn't explored herself enough to form one strong identity. When she takes the eggs to school, we meet Seiyu Academy's bizarre student council, the Guardians, chief among them, Tadase, the king's chair. Tadase is Amu's dreamy crush, not that she would admit it. She prefers to ignore him in public and ponders her mixed feelings during the school assembly. Amu assumes that Tadase hates her for ignoring him, but she won't know until she expresses herself freely. If only she was a girl who could do that. In that moment, her first egg hatches, and Ran makes her confess. This is a power known as a Chara change, where a child lets go of themselves and leans into their desires. Ran's hatching is a response to Amu's desires, not to confess her feelings, but to change. At its core, Shugo Chara is about grappling with change, the onset of sudden changes during adolescence, the necessity of change when growing up, and how the power to change is our most important tool when navigating identity. When Amu bemoans having ignored Tadase, Ran simply says, then just change. She doesn't have to stay true to her reputation. What Amu wants is within reach, but only if she changes. The 3 tiny Amus, amulets, get it? Amulets, represent 3 desires that Amu wants to lean into. When the heart's egg hatches, it produces a Shugo Chara. Amu's Shugo Chara are Ran, the earnest cheerleader, Miki, the quiet artist, and Su, the docile maid. On the surface, they've got a clear visual theme that conveys their personality. But beyond that, they each represent a deeper desire connected to Amu's struggles. Let's examine the first scenes with each Shugo Chara to understand that. We meet Ran in the first episode. She's the one that pushes Amu to confess to Tadase. Based on this, Ran represents Amu's desire to freely express herself. That freedom is embodied in their outfit and abilities. When Amu Kara changes with Ran, she's able to fly, and when they transform, Amu becomes a peppy cheerleader, the perfect embodiment of a free and expressive girl. Character transformation is the second power, where the children embrace their desires and become a fully new self. Each of the characters has their own thematically cohesive form that we're going to cover throughout the video. The ability to tie together a character's feelings and designs so well is why I respect the show's magical boy and girl designs. On a story level, it also makes sense that Ran hatches first. She represents a pretty old and personal wish for Amu. Amu only got her cool and spicy reputation because she struggled to express herself. If she had Ran's help during her introduction, she might have been more open with her classmates. I also liked that Ran and Amu share a hair color because what she represents feels a lot closer to her heart than the other guardians, no offense. But Amu's not the only one with Shugo Chara, because soon she's invited to join the Guardians. The Guardians are Seiyu Academy's elementary school council. They each have their own Shugo Chara and watch over the students' dreams. There's Tadase, Amu's crush, Nadeshiko, Amu's best friend, Yaya, the group's baby, and Kukai, their cool older brother. Nadeshiko, the queen, is the first to reach out, taking advantage of Amu's crush on Tadase. She invites Amu to visit him at his house, and the two bake some cookies together. This is where Amu's third Shugo Chara, Su, is born. She represents Amu's interest in traditional femininity. When the two character change, she becomes docile and domestic. I also feel that she represents Amu's inner big sister since Amu takes care of Ami, her little sister, all the time. Beyond meeting Su, we also learn more about Nadeshiko. As Amu's best friend, the two spend lots of time together. She's a kind girl who likes to tease Amu and practices traditional dance on a strict schedule. When she invites Amu to her house, her mother is shocked that she'd find time to spend with friends, but that's how much Amu matters to her, enough to defy her own mother. Now let's talk about Tamari, Nadeshiko Shugo Chara. Despite her look, the two's character change is pretty aggressive. She carries Nadeshiko's repressed aggression. We see the side of her when Amu is attacked, and when Kukai dares to challenge her. She's quite competitive, but her aggression is to be tamed. Nadeshiko must move like a woman because of her family's values. Amu and Nadeshiko grew really close in their short time together. Amu leans on her for advice and knows she can rely on her. Unlike Amu, Nadeshiko seems perfectly at peace with her outer self, but soon we find out that there's another side to her. Meet Nagihiko Fujisaki. Born into the Fujisaki family, he must learn traditional dance and live as a girl. Her gender is an elaborate performance. Nadeshiko's mother explains this halfway through the season when Nagi is due to leave the country. Everyone knows except Amu, so the Guardians act pretty strange around her, and feeling confused, Amu rushes to Nadeshiko's house where she meets her twin brother. Nagihiko spends time with Amu as a boy, getting to show off a new side of himself. He's rather charming and lets his playboy side show. It's a fun reveal that adds depth to the story. As a boy, Nagi gets to be athletic, flirty, and casual. It's a completely new side of him. This is the repression that came up when his mother told him to tame his foot slide. Being a Nadeshiko might feel natural, but it's still not a perfect performance. He could always be a little softer, a bit more elegant. Let's put a pin in that. Before he leaves for Europe, Nagi leaves Amu with one last piece of advice. When the two discuss her crush on Tadase, Nagi says that Amu might have liked Tadase before, but now that she's a guardian, she's come to love a new side of him. And this is groundwork for one of the series' core questions. Which side of people is the real them? Which side of Amu is the real one? Is Nagihiko a boy or a girl? At the end of the episode, Amu learns of Nadeshiko's departure and chases after the plane. She cries out in hope that one day she will return. And trust me, she will. There's a lot to talk about here, so for now, let's just move on to Yuiki Yaya is the Ace's chair and the group baby. Her Shugo Chara perfectly embodies this, being a cute little baby. Unlike Nagi and Amu, Yaya is not really seeking a new self. She's already an excitable young girl, so Pepe likely represents her desire to grow further into that. Her first focus episode is about ballet and is also the birth of Amulet's spade. Yaya invites Amu to her ballet class. Here, we meet Himekawa Mai, the prima ballerina. She's a confident, kinda mean girl with a generational talent. Despite her attitude, it's obvious that she's the best. Her graceful form inspires Miki, who sketches her in awe. Miki was born when Amu tried something difficult, so it's fitting that she's associated with art. But during rehearsal, Mai suffers an injury so bad that she can't take part in the ballet, forcing Yaya into the role. During dress rehearsals, Mai's mother shows up to dress Yaya for the part. Mai ignores her and continues to sulk throughout practice. To Mai, this is a lot more than an injury. Her own mother suffered a similar injury, ending her career in ballet, and now Mai is walking the same steps. When Mai releases an X-egg, Miki and Amu transform into Amulet's spade. This is because Miki represents Amu's ability to overcome difficulty, so it's likely that Miki resonated with the situation. Out of all her Shugo Chara, Miki usually helps her out with a character change the least. While Ran might help her with athletics and Su might help her cook, Miki knows that the journey is the whole point. This is where the art theme comes in too, because art is a journey of constant failure, a failure that Mai must face. A part of Mai's pain is her projection onto her mother. She feels that her mother's efforts were wasted because she lost it all after an injury. But Mai's mom still has dreams and a full life. She seems happy making costumes for the ballerinas. Mai is projecting her own pain onto her mother because she can't accept that new dreams might come if she loses this one. This episode shows that failure, no matter how devastating, can be overcome, and even when we lose our own dreams, that just makes room for others. This is why I consider Shugo Chara such a dense anime. In one episode, we get to know Yaya, learn about a side character, and see how that conflict is reflected in Amu's Shugo Chara. The notes for this video were lengthy. The season goes on to explore Yaya's baby character in relation to becoming a big sister and being a guardian. How can she be the group's baby when she has so much responsibility? In episode 48, we see how the rest of the school views her. Despite being a guardian, she's allowed to be playful and is spoiled by those around her. When a group of kids asks Yaya to help find their bird, she's happy to step in. Now, you might expect this episode to follow her growing into a more responsible girl, but it just doesn't. She finds a totally different bird and the kids find their own. It's pretty funny. So what's the point of all this? Why is Yaya in the cast? What are we learning from this? To understand Yaya's character, we're going to have to pull from the manga, because in the finale, she explains why she likes being a baby. Yaya likes being cherished and comforted, and loves getting help from other people. In the episode where they have to watch her baby brother, Yaya can only accomplish it by tricking the guardians into coming to her house. And unlike the rest, she's not that useful in battle. But maybe that's fine. Shugo Chara tells us that some people will always need help. And I really like Yaya's inclusion because the anime gets a bit serious with itself, but Yaya's there to remind us that this is also a baby show. Despite my praise, there are times I wish the show would say less. Tadase and Ikuto are Amu's primary love interests, the good boy and the bad boy. While Tadase is an appropriately aged prince, Ikuto is a high school bad boy hitting on an elementary schooler. This is referenced multiple times in the show, and I'm not sure if the self-awareness helps or hurts its case. Ikuto's friends make fun of him for hitting on Amu, and he tells her to grow up multiple times. It's completely disgusting and drags down all their scenes for me. The anime is pretty reckless about age gap relationships and incest, which we will have to address now because it's going to come up again, so I'd rather prepare you. But let's just keep going. The first episode sets up their rivalry, with Ikuto stealing Amu's eggs and Tadase swooping in to save her. I really like Tadase as a character. He is the people's prince, kind, cute, and charming. All the girls at school love him, and even some of the boys find him pretty cute. As the king's chair, Tadase is accompanied by Kiseki, a bossy Shugo Chara who plots world domination. Whenever Tadase is called a prince, he changes into an aggressive, fiery king and throws a petty tantrum. Let's unpack that. Growing up, he was raised to be strong and kind, but despite his grandmother's efforts, he was still just a crybaby. When Tadase wished for a stronger self, he brought forth Kiseki, a strong, dignified king that he could grow into. Kiseki represents the strength that Tadase desires, but notably, it's a very childish idea of power. Kiseki tries and fails to rule over the other Shugo Chara, becoming the series' punching bag in most gags. His haughty attitude actually reflects something deeper. Due to his upbringing, Tadase turned out to be quite a serious child. He's kind, soft-spoken, and responsible, but this is a lot to expect of any child, and thus, Kiseki is an outlet for Tadase's childish behavior, his entitlement, his pettiness. This is why as Platinum Royal, they're not dressed for power, they're dressed like a frilly doll. On the surface, Kiseki represents Tadase's desire for power, but also his need to be a bratty child, and together they embody the strong yet kind person that Tadase hoped to be. As Platinum Royal, Kiseki no longer has to carry Tadase's strength, because now Tadase knows that he had it in him all along. Now about that other one. Tsukiyomi Ikuto is a black cat that works for Easter. He's a sly creep that teases Amu and the Guardians. Easter's mission is to find the mysterious egg known as the embryo. The embryo is said to have the power to grant any wish that you desire. When Amu shows up to school with 3 eggs, Ikuto suspects that one of them might be the embryo. So basically, Easter takes out the eggs of children to see if they're the embryo, and Ikuto's primary job is to clean up the eggs that aren't, destroying the children's dreams one by one. This pits him against the Guardians, but specifically Amu and Tadase, the other ends of this love triangle. The two actually share a past, so let's cover that. Ikuto grew up in Tadase's home. His father went missing and his mother felt ill, so he and his sister lived with Tadase's family. At the time, Tadase saw him as a cool older brother. The 3 played together in ignorant bliss, but among the adults, trouble was brewing. Tadase's mother didn't like Ikuto. She saw him as a black cat that brought misfortune, and when Tadase saw him standing over his dead dog, he started to believe it too. Before Ikuto left, he stole the Dumpty Key from Tadase, a counterpart to the Humpty lock, and if the lock represents repression, locking away feelings, then the key represents connection, the tie between Ikuto and Tadase's family. We'll return to that later when it's relevant. Ikuto spends most of his time in the story playing violin and looking for the embryo. He's accompanied by his Shugo Chara, Yoru. Yoru is a playful cat with a carefree attitude. He's often goofing off with the Guardian's Shugo Chara or playing with the local street cats. So why is he so playful when Ikuto is so serious? Well, that goes back to Ikuto's childhood. As the family's black sheep, Ikuto didn't have much room for joy, and when he ran away as a child, his life was rough and destitute. Ikuto never really had a childhood. So much like Tadase, Yoru is the playful, carefree child that he never got to be. When the two transform, they become Black Lynx, a wild cat-like fighter with Wolverine claws. The fit was wild though. I remember people talking about this all the time in the old fandom. So the rivalry between Ikuto and Tadase is something passed down from their fathers. Ikuto's father was a famous violinist, and thus his children inherited his musical abilities. Ikuto and Utao can use their violin and voice respectively to take the eggs from children's hearts. His father's violin is really important to the story, so keep that in mind. He also has the Dumpty Key, which he stole from Tadase, and in the present, he plans to steal Amu. This ties back to Tadase's desire for strength because he doesn't feel strong enough to protect things. He lost the Dumpty Key, he lost his dog, and now he's gonna lose Amu too. I don't like how Amu's on the list, but that is how it's framed in this show, so I just want to be honest about what's being said here. The Black Daia Arc is where Shugo Chara gets really good. It perfectly sets up the series' major themes and explores the rivalry between Amu and Utao. Here's what we need to know. Remember Ikuto's sister Utao? Well, she's a stoic idol who works for Easter. Using her character change, she's able to extract X eggs from children's hearts. Her music is one of the strategies Easter employs to find the embryo. Utao is also in love with Ikuto, her brother. The show is terrible. I don't know what to tell you. It's here and we can't ignore that. The Guardians meet her at the concert in episode 13, where they find out that Utao's songs are bringing out the X eggs. As children of Aruto Tsukiyomi, Ikuto and Utao are bound to Easter contractually. Easter sponsors Utao's concerts, pays for the drinks, and owns the venue. Her Shugo Chara, L, and Il represent her mixed feelings toward the use of her voice by Easter. Despite her feelings on Easter's goal, Utao knows that without them, no one would hear her music, and so she carries out their mission. Back at Seiyu Academy, as the new school year begins, Nadeshiko leaves for Europe and Kukai graduates. This opens up 2 spots for new guardians. Rima, a cold, detached beauty, and Kairi, a calm analytic. The cast gets new classes and it's a lot of change. That's not even counting the new egg Amu discovered. That morning, Amu discovered a golden diamond patterned egg. The 4th egg is clearly tied to change as Amu enters her 2nd year at Seiyu Academy. Before Rima showed up, she was the most popular with boys, but now the boys think she's alright. She's also struggling to make new friends outside the Guardians. Without Nadeshiko to lean on, Amu's not sure what to do. She's been at school too long to stay cool and spicy, but hasn't figured out who she is beyond that. Amu's self-doubt causes her to struggle while fighting the X eggs, and eventually she runs off in tears. Everyone notices that she's acting off, and this is Amu's breaking point. She tried to be someone new. She tried to change, but it failed miserably each time. When she met Rima, she tried to be friendlier than usual but got ignored. When Yaya asked her to let her handle the X egg, Amu interfered. And with nothing but failed new beginnings, she gives up, turning her golden egg into an X egg. This should explain what the golden egg represents. It's the central theme of the story, navigating change, Amu's desire to face change and be someone new. So when she fails and gives up, she rejects that part of her, turning it into an X egg. Across town, L, Utao's angelic Shugo Chara, is fed up with her evil ways and decides to leave. She stumbles into Amu's home, where she spends the night. The next day, Amu goes X egg hunting with the new queen Rima, who effortlessly beats an X egg by destroying it. Seeing Amu's failure, Rima suggests that she should give up. She's lost her confidence as a joker and doesn't know who to be. On an outing with Kukai, he lets her know that not knowing who to be is part of the fun. As a sporty kid, he's not sure if he should stick with football or try out basketball. Nobody has their identity fixed in place. Amu will always be changing into someone new. And Amu's struggle to accept this is why her egg left her. The diamond egg found its way to Utao, where it hatches into Black Daia. To fully understand it, we have to unpack the heart's egg and the X egg. All kids hold an egg in their soul, the egg of our hearts, our would-be self. Most kids don't notice their egg at all, and it disappears in adulthood, a parallel to how most adults abandon their dreams. but a few of these eggs appear, like Amu's, and eventually hatch into Shugo Chara, a representation of who they could become. When a child stops believing in themselves, their egg closes shut and is marked with an X. The X egg can hatch into an X character, spreading despair and leaving their host in a state of apathy. There's a great visual parallel that helps to explain what's happening. Did you notice that during the transformations, the egg goes back into the child? This reunion represents self-acceptance. The child and the egg fight as one. However, when an X character attacks, it fights alone. The first time we see an X egg is in episode 2, and the victim expels a dark energy as it's taken out. The expulsion of the egg and its return. Separation and reunion. Self-rejection and self-acceptance. Additionally, each Shugo Chara represents a child's desires. Kukai's sporty interests gave birth to Daichi, who embodies his interest in all kinds of sports. With that out of the way, what does Daia represent? Diamonds shine, and in the world of Shugo Chara, no one shines more than Utao. She's a famous idol who works for Easter to find the embryo for her brother. Utao loves to sing, and she used to perform with Ikuto as a child. But now, they're both trapped by Easter, and she'll do anything to save them. The catalyst for Daia choosing her was set up a while ago. It's clear Utao doesn't want to use her music like this, but if it's for Ikuto, if it's to save them, then she'll happily do it. She'll find the embryo before Amu and take Ikuto's heart. This internal conflict is reflected in her Shugo Chara, an angel and a devil. Utao's will to change is what Daia's attracted to. When Utao expresses doubts about collecting X eggs, she steadies herself when she remembers that it's for Ikuto. She has to change. There's no room for self-doubt. If she ever hopes to set them free, the embryo is the first step. Her unwavering ability to adapt is what Daia is drawn to and why she is chosen over Amu. When Daia and Utao refer to shine, they're referring to their effortless brilliance. But Amu shines in a different way. She respects a kind yet weak self, which is why she resonates with L. The two switch Shugo Chara, setting up a new goal for their rivalry. Now, Amu must take back Daia from her fated rival. This is a really good mid-season twist. It really gets things going in the manga too. Having them switch Shugo Chara shows how similar they are, while also showing what the other lack. Notice that while Daia is in her X form, L remains in her normal form when transforming with Amu. That's because Daia isn't true to Utao's desire, who she really wants to be. Utao wants to sing, but for the time being, Black Diamond is who she must be. It's great character writing all around. Despite my praise for this arc though, we have to acknowledge the series' colorism. Shugo Chara is no stranger to Orientalism, and its worst racial offense is Black Daia. Why is her skin darker when she's evil? It's a stain on the series that's impossible to ignore. While I loved the show as a child, I fully understand why many people can't come back to it. Moving on. Following Nadeshiko's departure, the new queen's chair is Mashiro Rima. She's introduced as a cold beauty who quickly turns the boys into her servants. When Amu tries to befriend her, Rima claims that she doesn't need friends, since she has the boys at her service. This starts a bit of a gender war with the girls supporting Amu and the boys supporting Rima. Beyond this, Rima doesn't bother letting Amu purify the X eggs, simply destroying them so she can get home. This comes to a head during the school's athletic festival, where she refuses to play. Amu reaches out despite the backlash for her classmates, showing Rima that she cares more about her than her reputation. This is what allows her to step on the field. During the match though, an X egg appears, allowing Rima to see the power of open heart. It's only when she sees its brilliance, its shine, that Rima comes to respect Amu. The two grow closer when the Guardians bring a gag manga to their garden. While she acts disinterested at first, Rima quickly corrects them when they do a gag wrong. Rima's Shugo Chara is kusukusu, a clear allusion to this hidden side. Rima loves gags, something Amu finds out when the two sort books after class. Her character change turns her into a wacky gag character. Once again, this girl has a hidden side to her. You'll be hearing that a lot in this video. As Rima rushes home, we also get to meet Rima's mother, who's upset about how long she stays after school. Keep that in mind for later. The next day, when Rima spots the boys doing a gag, she's upset by how bad it is and character changes in public. As the class erupts into laughter, Rima runs out in shame. The boys can't believe it's her, but Amu defends Rima, saying it's just another side of who she is. No one fits perfectly into one archetype, so where is this shame coming from? Rima used to be a bright and funny girl. She made funny faces and entertained her parents with gags. But one day after school, Rima got kidnapped. She was rescued pretty fast, but the incident put strain on her parents' marriage. Both of them blamed each other, but also fought with the school. Currently, Rima's picked up by one of her parents every day after school. They're not happy with how much time she spends in her vague club, and while her childhood gags would cheer them up, now they just see them as childish, foolish acts that are a waste of time. Kusu is a remnant of a better time, but also the sign of a brighter future. I'm gonna spoil the ending here a bit, but Rima's parents get a divorce, and I'm really grateful because their marriage is bringing everyone down. I'm so happy they found a solution. Rima's happy childhood might have passed, but there's still room for joy in the present and the future. That's why her Shugo Chara still exists, because this part of Rima still matters. I really like her story's conclusion and how they handled her parents' divorce. She's a character who's been through so much, but still leaves room for joy in her heart. The other new guardian is Kairi. He takes over Kukai's position as the Jack. He's a typical nerd who's secretly working for Easter. He's also spying on the guardians for his sister, Utao's manager. Kairi is suspicious from the very start. I also think it's a bit of a cliche to have evil characters wear glasses because they're hiding things. I think they do that, 3 times in the show? I just noticed it. During the sports day, he makes a call to report his findings, and he gathers data on all the guardians. When he's not spying, he's a bit of a smartass. During the Ghost House episode, he goes on and on about science, even though that doesn't really explain the Shugo Chara. He also has a tiny crush on Amu, just like all the boys in this show do. Kairi helps his sister, Yu, collect data and spreads Utao's evil CDs across the school. But the more time he spends with the Guardians, the more his heart wavers. It's not until they find him with the evil CDs that Kairi is forced to face his actions. He's loyal to his sister, but he's losing sight of his true path. This is where, once again, his Shugo Chara comes in. Musashi is a tiny samurai who represents Kairi's desire to walk the righteous path. As a child, Kairi looked up to heroes like Miyamoto Musashi, a strong samurai who protected the weak. But now, Kairi's the one that kids need protecting from. By collaborating with Easter, he's put his friends in danger. And it's not easy, but he has to weigh his loyalty to his sister against his loyalty to his friends. After seeing how much harm he's causing, Kairi finally makes his choice. To defend Amu from any further harm, Kairi and Musashi become Samurai Soul. In his own words, we might believe we're on the right path, but if we strain our eyes, then we'll discover our true path. Kairi became a strong samurai to protect Amu. He wraps up his involvement with Easter and returns to live with his parents. As Amu says goodbye, Kairi promises to come back when he's a man worthy of her. Thankfully, this isn't the last we see of him. The two meet again in Season 2, where Kairi is leading a student summit. At first, he avoids Amu feeling unworthy, but she reminds him that there's no shame in being seen while growing. He might not be there yet, but she likes him all the same. It's a really cute little episode to wrap things up. I also like that he said he would become a man worthy of her, and when they met again, she said, "This doesn't really matter to me, I still like you as a friend." In the background of Kairi's section, we briefly brought up the Black Daia plot. Remember those evil CDs? Well, those were made with Utao and Daia's power. Unlike her concerts, the CD causes children to wander outside and release their eggs in one location. This is useful because the more X eggs appear, the likelier it is that the embryo will. Using Daia like this takes a toll on Utao, but she's willing to do it to spread her music. In the meantime, Amu has shared the news of Daia with her friends and is making peace with her loss. Amu's gone through a lot of growth in her time, helped her friends unlock their own hearts, and saved countless X eggs. While Utao's been growing through success, Amu's been growing despite her failures. As Easter's plans for Utao grow, the Guardians rush in to save her. All this time, El has been by Amu's side, showing that Utao never lost sight of her, and Daia's been by Utao's. The two's confrontation brings out valid points on each side. Utao needs to spread her music, but she also needs to save Ikuto. Someone like Amu wouldn't get that. She's a child with very few stakes in the conflict. When Daia reads Amu's heart, she notes that while Amu can save others, she's still unsure about herself. It's probably why she has 4 different Shugo Chara. Utao is strong. She's willing to throw away anything it takes to shine. And that's what Daia was drawn to, the flawless girl who could become Black Diamond. The central question in their conflict is this: do diamonds shine because they're flawless, or do their flaws polish them into shine? Does Utao shine more than Amu because she's perfect? Because she wins? Amu's determination is shown in another way. She's a child full of flaws and mistakes. From her confession in the first episode to losing her own egg, Amu's determination shows in her ability to overcome failure. Each mistake polishes her further, turning her into a real diamond. Daia only returns once Amu believes in her own shine. And when the two transform, they become Amulet Daia. Amulet Heart was born of Amu's desire to be an honest and sincere girl, with a cheerleader theme embodying her expressiveness. Amulet Spade represents Amu's ability to try hard things, expressed as an artist due to the struggle involved in that process. Amulet Clover embodies Amu's interest in traditional girlhood, expressed as a cute maid. Amulet Daia's role can be understood through her outfit and abilities. This is the case for most Shugo Chara. Remember when we said that Amulet Heart could fly because she wanted to express herself freely? Well, it's no surprise that Utao, who feels trapped, has a little devil and angel that can both fly. Platinum Royal has a scepter that turns into a sword when he decides to oppose Ikuto, and Daia's design is a shiny angelic idol. Her attack is also named Starlight Navigation. These are some pretty on-the-nose hints as to what she represents. Daia appears whenever Amu is facing a big change. Get it? She's navigating change. That's the whole show. Beyond that, the idol theme also suits her desire to shine, to keep on going despite her failure. The idol industry is pretty harsh, and given the series' general hatred towards the entertainment industry, it does feel intentional that Amulet Daia is an idol. It's no coincidence that most of the manga is just evil music is brainwashing children. While Utao is a diamond that shines without flaws, Amu is a diamond whose flaws polish her. There's a lot that went into this arc, so let me know what you think of the Daia arc, since its writing is the most dense and abstract the series gets, excluding the volumes with all the lore. Overall, I feel that Daia represents Amu's desire to navigate change and overcome failure. There is some overlap with Miki since she's the one who makes Amu try hard things, but Daia feels more aligned with change and failure. With such a central theme and focus, it also makes sense that the first season's finale is rested on her. She's also one of the most powerful Shugo Chara since she can read the other's thoughts and she can just hatch to pull off, plot stuff. I guess if she represents change, which is the story's focus, it would only make sense that she has so much latent potential. That brings us to the end of Shugo Chara's first half. Season 2 of Shugo Chara is where the anime and manga split the most. While the manga does another arc about evil music, the anime introduces Lulu de Morcerf, a character created with Peach Pit's contribution. While Lulu's just as good as any other character, it's how she adds to the lore that really fascinates me. Up until now, there have been 3 types of egg: the plain Heart's egg, the Guardian's egg, and the X egg. Each of these are stand-ins for a blank canvas, our heart's desires, and the rejection of those desires. The introduction of a 4th egg type poses some interesting questions that we're gonna answer. But first, Lulu. At the start of the new season, we re-established the boys' rivalry and show that Amu's gotten stronger because the transformation is new. I know it's probably something to do with her growing as a character, but I feel like they also just wanted to update the transformations. Maybe it's canon, maybe it's not. Also, Daia went back in her egg, remember that, she's not around. In order to find the embryo, Easter brings in a French recruit, the daughter of a famous chef and actress, Lulu de Morcerf. She's a stuck-up aristocrat who uses jewelry to bring out the children's eggs and turn them into mystery eggs. These eggs resonate with a child and allow them to transform. Visually, this gives the fights a lot more flair and really elevates the season, but those visuals also support the story's themes. Each of our characters is navigating the gaps between their dreams and reality. This is the gap that mystery eggs aim to fill. In episode 55, Amu meets a tennis player who loves to sing. She's a huge fan of Utao and hopes to reach her level soon. This is where Lulu steps in. Using her magical jewelry, she allows the girl's dream to run wild, transforming her into Singer Dream, an idol who spreads her song by force. Unlike Utao, Singer Dream didn't have to work. She used the magic jewelry to bridge the gap between who she was and who she wanted to be. I think we can learn a lot more by comparing these transformations to the prior ones. The heart's egg resides in a child's heart until they're ready to see it. At that point, it becomes a guardian egg which can hatch into a Shugo Chara. When Ran transforms with Amu, she returns to the egg and goes into Amu's heart. This visually represents that Amu is embracing her desire to be a cute and sincere girl. The two fight together as Amulet Heart. So what about the mystery egg? This transformation is different. Instead of the egg returning to the child's heart, the egg grows and consumes the child. Let's look at the first character to undergo a mystery transformation, Manami. She's a girl that wants to be a florist, but still has lots of dreams to explore. What Lulu does is to hone in on that one part of her identity, amplifying it to the point of delusion. Manami's egg hadn't even hatched. She simply thought she might like to be a florist. But by amplifying that desire, Lulu created a monster. The mystery egg transformation is a consumption of a child by their own dream. Manami projects her dream onto the outside world, transforming it into a big garden. While the guardian transformations are internal, reflecting their personal growth, the mystery transformation is entirely external, projecting their dream onto the world around them. Amulet Heart represents what Amu could grow into, but Flower Dream is a reduction of Manami to one trait, a florist. The victim's delusion is born from believing they've already achieved their dream. When Hitomi transforms into Singer Dream, she's aiming to reach Utao. What Lulu's jewelry offers is a shortcut. Hitomi doesn't need to work or struggle. She can be Utao right now. This is why they're referred to as delusional. The whole concept is a cautionary tale, and a reminder that we do have to work for our dreams, but also not to let one thing define us. You might have forgotten by now, but that singing girl was also a tennis player. And yet Singer Dream boils her down to this one interest. Amu doesn't transform into a really cool and popular student. She transforms into a cheerleader, an artist, a maid, and an idol. Broad concepts that represent her desires. The desire lies beyond the title. But with the mystery transformations, the desire is all you get. The mystery eggs are a reductive external transformation that warp reality to convince the child of their own greatness, a direct opposite to the guardian transformations, which reflect the child's internal growth. The inclusion of the mystery eggs fits so well within the lore, it's hard to believe they're not canon. It's the best kind of original content, because it understands the series' core themes and expands on them. The departure of Kairi leaves the Jack's chair empty, allowing the series to reintroduce Nagi. Back from Europe after a year, Nagihiko is in boy mood and rejoins the Guardians. Despite his appearance, Amu can't tell they're the same person and doesn't find out till the end of the manga. When we last met Nagi, he was practicing traditional dance and going abroad to expand his horizons. But now that he's back, something seems different. Tamari's back in her egg and he's returned with a second blue guardian egg. Nagihiko's struggle is tied up in his gender. It's pretty obvious. Pink egg, blue egg. While he has no regrets about growing up as a girl, his time in Europe exposed him to other ways of being. Seeing all that the world had to offer, his own world of Japanese dance felt so small. This is what caused Tamari's egg to shut. Nagihiko still believes in his femininity, he just wants to explore something else. Hence the second egg. For most of the season, Nagihiko acts as a strategist because he can't fight like the rest do, but he brushes up against one guardian in particular. When Rima learns about the old queen Nadeshiko, she starts to feel insecure about Nagi's presence. She feels that he might take Amu away from her. It doesn't help that his twin sister was Amu's best friend. As a lonely girl with strict parents, it makes sense that Rima would be insecure about losing Amu. She's one of her only friends. This is exacerbated by the potential for romance between Amu and Nagi, something they share that she can't. Nagihiko notices her jealousy and suggests that they all hang out. On their day out, Nagi and Amu do their best to make her laugh, but none of their gags land. When an X-egg attacks, Rima completely ignores Nagi's commands as a strategist until he takes a hit to defend her. This is similar to what happened with Amu before, where someone had to show that they cared more about her than they did themselves so that Rima learns to trust them. By the end of the episode, Nagi makes her laugh and the two develop a rivalry/romance for the rest of the series. It's a really cute pairing and shows what Nagi can do as a boy that he wouldn't be as free to do as a girl. Now back to the gender stuff. Remember when his mom called his foot slide aggressive? It's time to think about that. During her childhood, Nadeshiko was instructed to learn the ways of womanhood, walking at their pace, jumping only as high as the girls could. But as Nagihiko, he's finally free to jump as high as he wants, to move aggressively and to be a playboy. These are sides that Nagi had to neglect, and those desires gave birth to Rhythm, his second Shugo Chara. Rhythm is a cool little dude in a puffer jacket who amplifies Nagi's athletic ability. He's a free spirit that charms the female Shugo Chara, and when they character change, Nagi becomes cocky and spontaneous, eager to show off his skills. Nagi's a pretty chill guy, so this rush of energy is hard to manage. Exploring masculinity can be pretty daunting since the rules are so different. It's a really interesting character arc, but we're not even done yet. Tamari's still here. The fact that she didn't disappear shows that Nagi still believes in his femininity, and now that he's explored his masculine side, he's ready to rekindle his femininity. So why did Tamari's egg shut? Well, when Nadeshiko went abroad, she didn't just see other dances, she was also rattled by one interviewer's question. Why bother dancing as a girl if you'll never move as elegantly as one? The moment leaves her deep in thought because it's partially true. Nagi might never dance like a woman, no matter how hard he tries. Toward the series finale, Nagi and Rima have to face a mass of X eggs, and in the manga, they hear the thoughts of one little girl. A girl who lost her spot on a basketball team to a boy. Boys and girls develop differently, and soon their bodies might betray them. Will Nagi be able to dance like a woman when he's a grown man? Will that little girl ever compete with boys at basketball? The series' answer is quite simple. They shouldn't have to. Nagi just has to be himself. to dance the way only a boy raised as a girl can. Nadeshiko might never embody perfect femininity, but maybe she doesn't have to. Nagi is learning a lot about being a man and being a woman, so instead of letting that weight hang over his head, he should just be the kind of boy or girl that he can be. Accepting this truth allows Tamari to hatch, and the two transform for the first time. Yamato Maihime is the perfect performance of Nagi's femininity, just like Beat Jumper is Nagi's performance of masculinity. And it is performing, but that's okay. Shugo Chara encourages us to try new selves, even when they don't feel right, and Nagihiko is a great example. So what happens when we reject that exploration? Lulu agreed to work for Easter in order to find the embryo, the magical egg that can grant any wish. So what does Lulu want for herself? To answer that, let's look at her home life. Lulu's family recently moved from France to enjoy suburban living in Japan. Lulu's mother, a famous actress, now does morning variety shows and lives as a housewife. Quite the unglamorous life for an award winner. While Lulu's mom seems happy, Lulu longs for a time that her mother was a star. Lulu doesn't see her mother's joy in their current life, and during the family's Christmas party, she's disappointed to find that it's a simple home gathering with a few neighbors and friends. Despite her mother's clear joy, Lulu can't see her as more than the woman who won the Best Actress award. Much like her victims, Lulu reduces her mother to one trait, and subconsciously does that to herself too. Lulu's mother, Noriko, took time away from acting to be a present mom for her daughter. When filming movies abroad, her husband told her that Lulu would stay up waiting for her, and so when she moved to Japan, she started filming variety shows so she could spend more time with her daughter. Noriko does her best to connect with Lulu, encouraging her interests, welcoming her friends, and trying to be the best mother she can. But until Lulu can acknowledge her own desires, she probably won't see her mother's. In episode 72, Lulu's grandmother comes home to visit. Unlike her parents, Lulu's grandmother is extremely classist. Her parents fear her judgment, but Lulu looks up to her. She's inspired by her grandmother's perfect image. When the two share a moment alone, her grandmother catches her off guard with a simple question. What is your dream? Something Lulu hasn't thought about in years. As a child, she tried lots of things. She was an artist, made storybooks, and tried anything she fancied. But as she got older, she abandoned her dreams to become the perfect image of an aristocrat. She discards all childish interests and builds a life in the shape of her grandmother. Lulu reduces herself to one trait, just like each of her victims. The concept of the mystery eggs reflects Lulu's personality, a girl who reduces herself to one trait and amplifies that. The question mark is also quite fitting. Since Lulu has so many interests, she's not sure who she'll turn out to be. This is reflected in her Shugo Chara, an elegant lady with 7 rainbow jewels, a whole spectrum of potential. During the final fight, Lulu uses the jewelry on herself, deluding herself even further. She represses her own desires and refuses to see anyone else's. Unable to find her own dream, Lulu tried to inherit one, the dream of her grandmother, to become an upstanding aristocrat. But dreams don't work like that. Lulu needed to explore her own, just like each of her victims. We've all got different sides to us, so it's important to give ourselves time. Don't deny your true desires, and explore what makes you happy. That is the final message of the Mystery Egg arc. Following the results of Lulu's work, Easter figures out that the embryo isn't drawn to large amounts of X eggs, but rather their purification. This inspires the head of Easter to start a new project known as Death Rebel. Remember Ikuto's father, the talented violinist? When he disappeared, Ikuto kept his violin as a memento. We've already seen his sister use her musical powers, and now it's Ikuto's turn. but he's brainwashed, ooh. The manga's second half is pretty boring, to be honest. I think it just feels dead on arrival. Let's compare it with Black Diamond to see why that one worked and this one doesn't. Black Diamond was interesting because we saw Utao choosing to be evil for her personal goals, to spread her music and to save Ikuto. It also helped that Daia gave her a personal connection to Amu. It came with a lot of change and it really shook up the status quo. But Death Rebel is boring. What does it really ask that we haven't thought about already? Death Rebel is about whether Amu can trust Ikuto and if he and Tadase can reconcile. Questions we've been exploring from pretty much episode 1. In contrast, Black Diamond was about how far Utao would go to spread her music and save Ikuto, as well as what Daia saw within her. There are a few mysteries in this, but I would say if Lulu wasn't introduced, season 2 would be terrible. So what's the good stuff I was talking about? Let's be positive. If the Humpty lock represents repression, then the Dumpty Key represents connection. The key swaps hands between Tadase and Ikuto's family, tying the two together. It all goes back to Aruto, Ikuto's father. He was a famous musician who married into the Hoshina family that runs Easter. As a condition of this marriage, he would be forced to abandon music and work for Easter. But shortly after, he disappeared. This is why Ikuto and Utao had to live with Tadase, because their father seemingly abandoned them. All that was left were his violin and the Dumpty Key, which he left to Tadase's dad. Aruto believed in connecting people, and that's why he made the Dumpty Key. I like to believe that he found his own key through music. It would also explain why music is such a big deal in the series. If you look at the manga on a broad scale, it's basically 2 major arcs about how music is supposed to unite people and connect them, but Easter has distorted that to bring children together only to turn them into victims. There's not many other reasons they chose the music industry as the primary villains of the show. If Aruto wouldn't use his music for Easter's evil, then his children would do it for him. This is what's behind the Death Rebel arc. By modifying his violin, Easter is able to control Ikuto with a tuning fork. At the time, Ikuto is living at Amu's house, but unconsciously leaving at night. While Amu believes that he's hiding from Easter, Tadase finds out that he's been fighting as the Death Rebel. This is where the drama gets good. So basically, Tadase comes over to confess while Amu is hiding Ikuto, and he overhears this confession. When Tadase finds out she was hiding him, he feels rightfully betrayed and the two have their first conflict. This gives us some time to explore Tadase. He spends time with Kukai as they unpack his hatred for Ikuto. On the night that he fought the Death Rebel, it didn't feel like the boy he knew. And if Tadase really wants to be a strong but kind king, then he has to protect everyone, and that has to include Ikuto. This conflict is also a wake-up call to Amu. The series has called attention to her wavering heart, but now it's pretty serious because she'll have to pick between the 2 boys. When the 3 meet at an amusement park, they're faced with their feelings towards each other and toward Ikuto. While they might be at odds, Amu and Tadase can both believe in Ikuto's potential to become a better person, and this shared goal lets them combine their power into a new attack. After sorting out their feelings, the 2 resolve to save Ikuto, setting up the final conflict. Shugo Chara's anime finale features the Guardians facing the Death Rebel in pursuit of the embryo. As Amu watches Tadase fight the Death Rebel, she's inspired to fight in her own way, and by opening her heart, they get to explore Ikuto's memories. As you might have suspected, Ikuto had noble intentions behind stealing the Dumpty Key. He was using it to find his father, as the last thing that had a connection to him. And when he stood over Tadase's dead dog, he was only trying to play her some music in her final moments. Finally seeing all his pain, Amu comes to understand Ikuto and embraces him. With a Humpty lock and the Dumpty Key finally together, the 2 attain new transformations. Amu's Shugo Chara combine to form Amulet Fortune, and Ikuto transforms into 7 Seas Treasure. The purification of all the X eggs around them draws out the embryo, allowing it to fall into Easter's hands. Now this is where we get one of the series' final and probably greatest twists. The shining egg that we've been following for the entire show isn't actually the embryo. It actually belongs to a very special child, Hikaru Ichinomiya. Throughout the anime, the true head of Easter has been shrouded in secrecy, but right at the end, we discover that it's a little boy. Hikaru is an emotionless child who's been trained for success his whole life. As a result, he discarded his emotions and lost his heart's egg. The shining egg was Hikaru's all along, a pun that Japanese viewers might have caught on to a bit faster. I really like this. It's fitting that a child who never got to express themselves would be so brimming with potential. While we never get to see the embryo, it is a satisfying end to the story. Within the manga, what's left is 2 volumes of Pairing the Spares and the Encore chapters. If you care, just know that Kairi ends up with Yaya and they become the new Guardians, and then Rima ends up with Nagihiko. I think that's it. Oh right, Utao and Kukai. They kind of teased that, but it does come out of nowhere. I guess they realized she can't end up with her brother, and they're closer in age, so that's very appropriate, thank God. The anime continues into its 3rd season, but it's pretty bad. I couldn't get through it, and I don't know anyone who's actually watched Party, so if you did, just let us know what happens in the comments, because I'm not watching that. So, those final transformations, what were they about? 7 Seas Treasure is up first. When Amu embraced the Death Rebel, Ikuto transformed. But whose egg did he use? Well, that's another secret hidden in the transformation sequences. When Ikuto becomes the Death Rebel, he uses a black egg that drops from the violin. This egg is likely his father's and proves that he's still alive. In the manga, Ikuto actually loses Yoru and leaves in search of his father with a black egg. This egg could represent both his and Aruto's desire to explore the world. Considering that Yoru disappears in the manga, it's also possible that this black egg represents who Ikuto is now. Remember that Yoru only existed to help Ikuto freely express his emotions, and once he's free from Easter and we've wrapped up the embryo plot, he doesn't really need him. That's one of the things I really liked about the manga, the fact that Shugo Chara do disappear when they're no longer needed. If you want to see this explored, please consider reading the manga. I think the finale is very interesting. But what about Amulet Fortune? Well, the wedding dress makes it a little obvious. Amu's opening her heart, and the Dumpty Key has finally entered the Dumpty lock. Amu's opening her heart to Ikuto's pain, and that allows her to transform. The wedding dress is a fitting symbol of connection, considering how important love is in the finale. Amu doesn't choose between the boys, but rather, Ikuto leaves, and that's pretty great. Ignoring the insane lore I had to cut out to keep this cohesive, I want to go back to the series' core thesis as we wrap up. At the start of this video, I defined Shugo Chara as a story about identity, and through explaining each character's circumstances and desires, I hope that you can see that. When Amu loses Ran, Miki, and Su in the manga, she worries that she might never see them again, and as the Guardian of Change, Daia appears to comfort her. Amu writes the words, "I am." What comes next is up to her, but the subject never changes. This is what defines identity as a dynamic process rather than a static state. Amu isn't going to become Amulet Heart, Spade, Daia, or Clover. These are all possibilities that she'll grow towards and eventually surpass. Some characters grow out of old identities into new ones, like when Ikuto lost Yoru. Others simply explore new sides of themselves, like Nagi with Tamari and Rhythm. What's important is that none of these choices are contradictory. Their character might change, but the subject always remains the same. That's the meaning of the manga's ending and the phrase, "I am." Shugo Chara had a really profound effect on me as a kid. While there's lots of shows that encourage being yourself, it's rare to see it so thoroughly examined. Amu was allowed to end the story, still unsure of who to be. Rima holds on to her childish interests and Yaya retains her baby character, even as a big sister. Their identity is not a target, but simply achieved through the process of being. That's what makes it one of my favorite anime. If you watch the Madoka video, there's also a bit in there about how some people achieve their dreams through their way of life, and I think that's also supported in here. In 2024, Shugo Chara's sequel, Jewel Joker, began publication. This was pretty unexpected, but after reading a few chapters, I can see the appeal. The former Guardians are sent to a new school where everyone has their own Shugo Chara. The school is divided into 4 dorms, and then further divided into students whose eggs hatched and students whose eggs haven't. I don't want to spoil it, but here's what I think is going on. So, each of the students gets a school-assigned ARC egg that hatches into a Shugo Chara. But that's strange, isn't it? Don't Shugo Chara come from the heart? Well, they should. But these Shugo Chara are assigned and seemingly mass-produced. My current theory is that they're stealing the eggs and then assigning them to the student. It would kind of line up with the identity stuff since, you can't force somebody to be someone else. That's just my theory. I'm really excited to keep reading Jewel Joker and see how it adds to the Shugo Chara lore and commentary, so let me know what you like about Shugo Chara and which character you enjoyed the most. I want to thank everyone for their patience and support because this was a really big video. Shugo Chara is massive and it was a challenge to digest it and then reproduce those thoughts in an essay that made sense. So I want to thank the Patreon members as usual. Let's read off their names. Gabby, Amaru the Fiore Lover, Rugia, La Perla del Gacha, Gerard Kachaturian, Mohammed Askanor Hakim, Nya EXC, It's Blue, Reski Amalia, Suzaku, Celine Envoy, Ayusha Rai, Elacor Karan, Kid Kate, Evelina Ponset, Lumin An, Babu Braz, Mario Lishimwe, and Nomura. I'm not sure what I'm going to cover after this. I might need a break because it's pretty taxing to make a video like this, but let me know what you liked and be sure to leave your suggestions in the comments down below. I will see you guys next time.